There is a reason why so many people work tirelessly for decades and still arrive at the end of their lives with nothing but regret. They never defined a clear purpose for their existence. They moved, but they did not advance. They labored, but they did not build. They lived, but they never truly lived deliberately. And without deliberate direction, even a lifetime of hard work leads nowhere. Purpose is the starting point of all achievement. It is the compass that gives meaning to your labor and direction to your energy. Without it, you are like a ship at sea without a rudder, drifting aimlessly at the mercy of the winds and waves of circumstance. You may work hard, you may be constantly busy, but business without purpose is the surest way to waste your life. Most people never ask themselves the most important question: what do I truly want? They chase what others tell them to chase. They study what their parents chose, pursue careers society approves of, and follow routines built by someone else's expectations. And so they spend 40 years climbing a ladder, only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. A clear, definite purpose is more than a vague wish or a passing dream. It is a burning desire, a precise target that calls forth your energy, shapes your decisions, and organizes your life. It turns work into a mission and obstacles into stepping stones. It transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. Think of purpose as the seed from which every success grows. Without the seed, no harvest is possible. But once planted, that seed directs the roots, the trunk, the branches. Everything grows in alignment with that central design. Your life works the same way. Once you define your purpose, every action begins to align with it. Your time, your energy, your focus, your resources, all are channeled toward the outcome that matters most. This is why some people accomplish more in a decade than others do in a lifetime. It's not because they are more talented or more fortunate. It's because they are more focused. Every thought, every habit, every relationship is measured against their purpose. If it serves their mission, they embrace it. If it distracts from their mission, they eliminate it. That level of clarity turns time into power and effort into momentum. Without purpose, people drift. They move from one job to another, one project to the next, without ever committing deeply to anything. They waste years chasing opportunities that don't matter and solving problems that don't align with their future. At 65, they look back and wonder why all that work left them with so little. The answer is simple. They spent their lives reacting instead of creating, wandering instead of building. Defining your purpose begins with honesty. It requires you to strip away what others expect of you and ask, what is the life I truly want to live? What impact do I want to leave behind? What dream, if achieved, would give meaning to my existence? The clearer and more specific your answers, the more powerful your purpose becomes. Once you have defined it, write it down. Turn it into a statement you can see and repeat daily. Let it become your North Star, the standard by which you measure every choice. If a decision brings you closer to your purpose, pursue it with everything you have. If it pulls you away, walk away without hesitation. But purpose is not just a statement. It is a commitment. It demands sacrifice. It requires you to say no to distractions, to endure discomfort, and to keep moving even when progress is slow. Purpose transforms obstacles into teachers and failures into fuel. It keeps you moving when motivation fades and reminds you why the struggle is worth it. Remember this: a clear purpose magnetizes resources. When you are clear about what you want, opportunities begin to reveal themselves. The right people appear. Ideas come more easily. Your actions compound. What once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable, because clarity has a way of bending reality in your favor. At 65, those who built lives of wealth, freedom, and fulfillment are not the ones who merely worked hard. They are the ones who worked intentionally, guided every day by a definite purpose that directed their efforts and shaped their destiny. Those who end up with nothing are not less capable. They simply never decided where they were going. So, decide. Right now, define the dream that will guide your days. Turn your vague wishes into a clear, definite purpose. Let it burn so brightly in your mind that it becomes the heartbeat of your actions. Because without purpose, life is wasted motion, but with it, every step, no matter how small, moves you closer to greatness. Time is fleeting, life is precious, and the most tragic thing you can do is spend it climbing someone else's mountain. Choose your mountain, choose your purpose, and then dedicate every ounce of your energy to reaching its summit. Because purpose, and purpose alone, is the root of all achievement. There is a reason why millions of people work hard their entire lives and still reach the age of 60, five with little to show for it. They never moved beyond general knowledge. They traded their time for wages, but never transformed their knowledge into power. They worked hard, but never worked smart. And in a world that rewards value, not effort, this is a fatal mistake. We live in a society that glorifies hard work. Work hard, we are told, then success will follow. But if hard work alone created wealth, every construction worker would be a millionaire, and every factory worker would retire rich. Hard work is important, but without direction, without skill, without specialization, it becomes endless labor that enriches others, but never liberates you. Here's the truth: most people never learn. The marketplace does not reward time. It rewards value. And value is created not by doing what everyone else can do, but by mastering what few others can. General labor is abundant and replaceable, but specialized knowledge is rare and powerful. It is the difference between earning a wage and commanding a fortune. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. They are not necessarily the hardest workers. They are the ones who possess rare knowledge, deep expertise, and the ability to solve complex problems. A surgeon is paid more than a nurse not because they work harder, but because they have mastered specialized skills that few possess. A skilled software architect can earn more in an hour than a general laborer does in a month, because they solve problems most people cannot. The tragedy is that most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They treat education as something that ends with a diploma, not realizing that the real education, the education that builds wealth, begins after school. Formal schooling teaches you how to think in general terms. Life-changing wealth demands that you think and act with precision. Specialized knowledge is not about degrees or certificates. It is about developing a deep, practical understanding of a subject that solves real problems for real people. It could be mastering digital marketing, financial analysis, medical procedures, construction technology, negotiation, or entrepreneurship. Whatever the field, the principle is the same. The more specialized and valuable your knowledge, the greater your earning power. And here's the beautiful truth: anyone can acquire it. Specialized knowledge is not reserved for the privileged. It is built through focus, study, practice, and persistence. It grows when you commit to continuous learning, seek mentorship from those ahead of you, and apply what you learn in the real world. The most dangerous thing you can do is become comfortable with general knowledge. It feels safe because it's familiar, but safety is an illusion. The world is changing faster than ever. Technology is evolving, industries are transforming, and the skills that were valuable yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. If you are not learning, you are falling behind. If you are not specializing, you are becoming replaceable. Wealth builders know this. They dedicate time each day to sharpening their minds and deepening their skills. They read voraciously, take courses, attend seminars, and surround themselves with people who stretch their thinking. They treat their mind as their greatest asset because they understand that specialized knowledge compounds, just like money. And once you possess specialized knowledge, the next step is to leverage it. Do not trade it cheaply for a wage. Package it into products, services, or solutions that multiply its impact. A teacher with specialized knowledge can earn a salary, but that same teacher can write books, build courses, and consult globally, turning knowledge into wealth. A coder can work for a company, or they can build their own software and sell it to the world. Specialized knowledge gives you options. It gives you leverage. It gives you power. If you want to avoid the fate of those who work until retirement and end up with nothing, you must make learning a lifelong mission. Every day, ask yourself, What new skill can I develop that will make me more valuable tomorrow than I am today? Do this consistently, and your income will rise. Do this persistently, and your opportunities will multiply. Remember this: hard work builds survival. Specialized knowledge builds freedom. The laborer works for a paycheck. The expert builds empires. The difference between the two is not effort. It is what they know and how they use it. So never stop learning. Never stop refining your craft. Never stop deepening your understanding. Because when you commit to mastering specialized knowledge, you break free from the limits of time for money. You stop being replaceable. You stop merely working and start creating. And when you do that, wealth is no longer a distant dream. It becomes an inevitable result. The life you are living right now is not the result of fate, luck, or chance. It is the result of your habits. Every decision, every action repeated day after day weaves the fabric of your destiny. People often believe that success is built on a single grand moment, one bold decision, one lucky break, one major event. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. Your future is built quietly and consistently in the small habits you choose every single day. Most people never realize this. They work hard for years, hoping for a breakthrough, yet continue living by habits that sabotage their progress. They rise each morning without a plan, spend hours on meaningless distractions, and allow fear, laziness, and doubt to dictate their actions. Then they wonder why their lives never change. The answer is clear: undisciplined habits lead to undisciplined results. Controlled habits are the steering wheel of destiny. They transform ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers. They turn potential into power. And they separate the millions who reach old age with nothing from the few who retire in freedom and fulfillment. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. Each choice you make, to read instead of scroll, to invest instead of spend, to act instead of procrastinate, shapes who you will be a year from now, 10 years from now, and at the end of your life. Habits compound just like money does. A single good decision may not seem significant today, but repeated 1,000 times, it builds a life of strength and abundance. A single bad habit may feel harmless now, but repeated over decades, it becomes the chain that keeps you trapped. Consider this: 2 people start their careers at the same time. One develops the habit of learning an hour a day, saving a portion of every paycheck, and investing in relationships that push them forward. The other spends evenings watching television, spends every dollar they earn, and surrounds themselves with people who think small. At first, the difference is invisible. After 1 year, they still seem equal. After 10 years, the gap is enormous, and by 65, one retires with freedom, wealth, and purpose, the other with regret and struggle. What made the difference? Not luck, not talent, habits. To control your destiny, you must first control your habits. And to control your habits, you must understand how they are formed. Habits are born from repeated actions. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity becomes automatic. What begins as a conscious choice becomes an unconscious behavior. This is why discipline matters. Discipline is the bridge between intention and habit. It is the decision to do what must be done, even when you don't feel like it, until it becomes who you are. But discipline alone is not enough. You must also choose habits aligned with your purpose. A man with strong discipline but poor habits is still destined for failure. Examine your routines with brutal honesty. Are they moving you toward your goals or away from them? Are they building strength or feeding weakness? Are they creating wealth or deepening dependence? Small changes create massive transformation. Begin by mastering your mornings. The first hour of your day sets the tone for the rest of it. Fill it with actions that build clarity, strength, and focus. Reading, planning, exercise, gratitude. Guard your attention. What you allow into your mind shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your actions. Limit distractions, eliminate time wasters, and choose information that fuels your growth. Financial habits matter just as much. Most people work for money their whole lives, but never learn how to make money work for them. Make it a habit to save, invest, and live below your means. Wealth is not built by occasional windfalls, but by consistent, disciplined decisions made over decades. Your health, too, is the product of habits. The energy you bring to your work, the clarity of your thinking, the resilience you show in hard times, all are shaped by daily choices about food, sleep, and movement. Neglect them, and your ambition will always be limited by your body. And finally, master the habit of action. The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams die. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop planning endlessly without acting. Build the habit of execution, of doing something today that moves you closer to your vision. In the end, success is not about dramatic change. It is about small, deliberate habits repeated relentlessly over time. Your habits are the invisible architecture of your destiny. They will either lift you to greatness or slowly destroy your potential. So ask yourself, what habits will build the future I desire? Then commit, fiercely and unshakably, to living them every single day. Because when you master your habits, you master your life. And when you master your life, you will never reach 65 with nothing. You will arrive there with everything you once dreamed was possible. Most people spend 40 or 50 years of their lives working, yet at the end of it all, they have little more than memories of labor and a modest pension that barely sustains them. They believed the promise that a steady job and a paycheck would secure their future. But here is a truth most never learn until it's too late. You cannot become financially free by working for someone else. Wages may feed you, but they will never free you. True financial independence begins only when you move beyond employment and step into ownership. This is not an attack on honest work. Work builds discipline and character. It provides stability and teaches responsibility. But work alone, especially work done solely for wages, will never build wealth. Why? Because a paycheck stops the moment you stop working. You are trading your time, your energy, your life itself for money. And time, unlike money, cannot be multiplied. There are only so many hours you can sell. This is the invisible trap that keeps millions working until 65 and beyond, never escaping the treadmill. Wealth is built when your money works harder than you do. And that happens only through ownership. Ownership means controlling assets that continue to produce income whether you are present or not. It means creating systems, businesses, or investments that grow even while you sleep. Ownership breaks the link between time and income, and that is the foundation of freedom. Think of it this way: an employee works once and gets paid once. An owner works once and gets paid forever. A writer who owns the rights to his book earns income every time it's sold. A landlord who owns property earns rent month after month without lifting a finger. A business owner who builds systems earns profits long after the work of creation is done. Ownership multiplies effort across time. Most people never take this step because they are conditioned to think like employees, not owners. From childhood, they are taught to get a good job, not to build something of their own. They are trained to seek security, not freedom. But security is an illusion if it depends entirely on your ability to work. The moment illness strikes, the moment the company closes, the moment the economy shifts, your income vanishes. Ownership protects you from that vulnerability. Ownership doesn't always mean starting a giant company. It can begin small. It could be buying your first rental property. It could be investing in stocks that pay dividends. It could be building a side business that solves a problem. It could be creating digital products or intellectual property. The form doesn't matter. The principle does. Build streams of income that do not rely on your daily labor. And ownership is not just about money, it's about control. When you rely solely on employment, someone else controls your time, your income, and often your destiny. They decide how much you earn when you work, and sometimes even how long you work. But when you own, you decide. You choose your schedule. You set your value. You direct your future. Ownership also teaches responsibility and vision. An employee focuses on tasks. An owner focuses on growth. An employee reacts to orders. An owner creates opportunities. This shift in mindset is transformative. It forces you to think long-term, to build systems, and to understand how value is created. all of which multiply your results far beyond what a paycheck alone can provide. Some people say, not everyone can be a business owner, and that's true. But everyone can own something. Everyone can invest. Everyone can acquire assets that grow. Even if you start with 10, you can learn the habit of ownership. The key is not how much you start with, it's that you start. Do not wait until retirement to think about ownership. By then, it's often too late. Start now, while you have time to let compounding work in your favor. Small streams of passive income built today can become rivers of financial freedom tomorrow. Remember this, no one ever achieved financial independence by renting out their life for wages. They achieved it by building or acquiring something that worked for them. They stopped living paycheck to paycheck and started building wealth brick by brick, asset by asset, decision by decision. At 65, most people are still working because they have to. A small few work because they want to, because their money, their businesses, their investments are working harder than they ever could. The difference is ownership. So ask yourself, what do I own that earns money without my labor? If the answer is nothing, then your freedom does not yet exist. But it can, and it must, if you want to live life on your terms. The path to financial independence is simple, though not easy work to earn. Save to invest, invest to own, and let ownership set you free. Do this, and you will not be among those who work until their last breath and end with nothing. You will be among those who chose their final chapter, free, independent, and fully in control of their destiny. There is a universal truth that governs every human lifetime is the only resource that is truly equal for all. The rich, the poor, the brilliant, the ordinary. Each of us is given the same 24 hours each day. Yet how we use those hours determines the difference between a life of abundance and a life of regret. Those who reach 65 with wealth, freedom, and purpose are not always more talented or more fortunate. They are simply those who treated time as their greatest asset. Those who end up with nothing are often those who squandered their time as though it were endless. Time is life. When you waste it, you are not merely wasting minutes, you are throwing away pieces of your existence. And yet most people behave as if time is infinite. They allow hours to slip through their fingers without intention or awareness. They spend their best years reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. They wake up without a plan, drift through the day, and go to bed no closer to their dreams than they were yesterday. Then they wonder, decades later, why all their work left them with so little. The answer is simple: time, once wasted, can never be reclaimed. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose possessions and replace them. But once a day is gone, it is gone forever. Every day you waste is a day deducted from the total sum of your life. The most successful people understand this deeply. They treat time as a form of capital, far more valuable than money, and they invest it accordingly. They allocate their hours deliberately, choosing activities that build skills, deepen knowledge, strengthen relationships, and advance their mission. They know that time spent learning, creating, building, or strategizing compounds over the years into massive results. Most people, on the other hand, treat time as if it were worthless. They waste hours on distractions that offer no return. They consume endlessly but rarely create. They say yes to trivial requests that steal their focus. They spend weekends escaping reality instead of designing a better one. And while they believe they are simply passing time, time is in fact passing them. Here is the truth: how you spend your hours determines how you spend your life. If you waste your hours, you waste your life. If you invest your hours, you build a life worth living. Think of time as a bank account that is refilled with 24 deposits each day. You cannot carry over the balance. You cannot borrow from tomorrow. At midnight, whatever you did not use is gone forever. The wealthy use their deposits on things that grow: skills, businesses, investments, relationships. The poor spend theirs on things that decay: gossip, distraction, consumption, and procrastination. The way you use time also reflects what you value most. People who say they value success but spend their hours on entertainment are lying to themselves. People who say they value health but spend their days sedentary are deceiving themselves. Time is the most honest measure of your priorities. If you truly value growth, freedom, and purpose, your calendar should reflect it. The key is not to fill every moment with frantic activity, but to use time intentionally. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. One focused hour spent learning a valuable skill is worth more than 10 hours of meaningless business. One deep conversation that strengthens a relationship is worth more than 100 shallow interactions. Focus, not frenzy, multiplies the power of time. Guard your time as you would guard a treasure chest. Say no more often. Eliminate activities that add no value. Replace idle scrolling with purposeful reading. Replace endless planning with bold action. Create systems and routines that protect your focus. Each small improvement compounds over weeks, months, and years into extraordinary transformation. Time is also the foundation of wealth. Money is simply time converted into value. The more wisely you invest your hours in building businesses, acquiring knowledge, and creating assets, the more your time begins to pay you back. At that point, your money works even when you don't. But it all begins with how you use your hours today. And here is the greatest paradox: time is free, but it is priceless. You cannot own it, but you can spend it. You cannot keep it, but you can invest it. And how you choose to invest it will define whether you spend your final years in freedom or in regret. At 65, many people look back and wish they had started earlier, tried harder, focused more. But wishes cannot buy back time. The only time you truly own is the moment you are living now. Use it wisely. Guard it fiercely. Spend it deliberately. Because time is not just the measure of your life. Time is your life. And when you learn to invest it like the rare and precious asset it is, you will never reach the end with nothing. You will arrive with everything that matters: wealth, wisdom, freedom, and the deep satisfaction of a life intentionally lived. The greatest prison humanity has ever built is not made of stone or steel. It is built from fear. And among all fears that rob human potential, none is more destructive than the fear of failure. It paralyzes dreams before they are born, silences ambition before it speaks, and keeps millions chained to mediocrity even when greatness is within their reach. From childhood, most people are taught that failure is something to avoid, something shameful, a sign of weakness. Society ridicules those who fall, and so men and women learn to play it safe. They cling to the familiar, settle for the ordinary, and shrink their dreams to the size of their comfort zones. And as a result, they reach the end of their lives having never truly lived. The irony is that every person you admire, every empire ever built, every breakthrough that changed the world, all of it was born from failure. Failure is not the enemy of success. It is the raw material from which success is forged. It is the teacher that refines your skills, sharpens your judgment, and toughens your spirit. Those who achieve extraordinary things are not those who never fail. They are those who refuse to let failure stop them. Yet most people remain slaves to fear. They say, "What if I lose?" and never invest. "What if I'm rejected?" and never speak. "What if I'm wrong?" and never act. They bury their talents, silence their ideas, and watch their potential wither, all because they fear a temporary setback more than they desire a lasting victory. And in doing so, they trade the chance for greatness for the comfort of mediocrity. Understand this truth: failure is never permanent unless you choose to quit. Every defeat carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Every mistake teaches a lesson that, if applied, brings you closer to your goal. Every rejection strengthens your resilience. Failure is not a signal to stop. It is a signpost pointing the way forward. The most successful people are not fearless. They simply act in spite of fear. They understand that fear is an emotion, not a command. It can warn you, but it cannot control you unless you let it. They have learned to reframe failure not as a loss, but as feedback. Every time they fall, they rise wiser, stronger, and more determined. That is why they eventually win, because they persist where others retreat. Consider this: the man who never risks failure, never builds anything worth having. The woman who never risks rejection never discovers her true strength. Safety may shield you from disappointment, but it also shields you from achievement. Playing small may protect you from loss, but it will cost you the joy of victory. You cannot reach extraordinary heights while clinging to the illusion of safety. The fear of failure is also the enemy of innovation. It keeps people repeating old patterns instead of creating new possibilities. It convinces them that what has always been will always be, and so they never question, never explore, never invent. Entire lives, even generations, are wasted because people were too afraid to risk being wrong. The only way to break this chain is to change your relationship with failure. See it not as an end, but as a step. Treat it as a teacher, not a threat. When you stumble, ask, what can this teach me? How can this make me better? The moment you stop fearing failure and start using it, you unlock your full power. You must also remember that the pain of discipline is far lighter than the pain of regret. Failure may sting for a moment, but regret haunts for a lifetime. It is better to fail 1,000 times in pursuit of a dream than to look back and realize you never tried. Failure scars heal. Regret does not. And here lies the final truth. Success is built upon a foundation of failures embraced, lessons learned, and courage renewed. Every step backward is simply preparation for a greater leap forward. Every closed door redirects you toward the one that will open. Every no brings you closer to the ease that will change everything. Those who reach old age with nothing are often not those who tried and failed, but those who never tried at all. They allowed fear to write their story. They chose safety over growth, comfort over courage. And in doing so, they chained themselves to a small, predictable life. Do not let that be your story. Break free from the prison of fear, act boldly, fall often, rise always, because the only true failure is never daring to begin. And the only real success is found on the other side of fear. Most people live their lives trapped in the lowest level of human existence, survival. They wake up, go to work, pay their bills, and repeat the cycle until their final day. They trade the vast potential of their lives for the false comfort of routine. They measure success not by the impact they create, but by the fact that they have made it through another month. And then, at 65, they look back and realize they have nothing. No wealth, no freedom, no legacy, only a lifetime spent getting by. Survival is not living. It is the bare minimum required to exist. And yet the majority of humanity never rises beyond it. They never ask, what mark will I leave on this world? They never consider, how will I make life better for those who come after me? Their minds are trapped in scarcity, their vision limited to the next paycheck, the next meal, the next weekend. And because they never aim higher, they never achieve more. The difference between those who die forgotten and those whose names echo through generations is not intelligence or luck. It is vision. Those who change the world think beyond themselves. They think beyond today. They think beyond survival. They ask, what can I build that will outlive me? What can I contribute that will ripple through time? A legacy is the ultimate purpose of human potential. It is the difference between a life consumed and a life invested. It is not just about wealth, though wealth is a tool. It is about impact, about planting seeds that will grow into trees whose shade you may never sit under. It is about creating something so meaningful, so enduring, that your influence continues long after you are gone. Building a legacy demands a shift in mindset. It requires you to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. Consumers ask, what can I get? Creators ask, what can I build? Consumers chase comfort. Creators pursue contribution. Consumers measure success by what they possess. Creators measure success by what they leave behind. Survival-minded people work for money. Legacy-minded people make money work for them. Survival-minded people chase short-term pleasures. Legacy-minded people invest in long-term vision. Survival-minded people fear change. Legacy-minded people become the change. And here's the great irony, those who aim only for survival rarely even achieve that comfortably. But those who aim for legacy nearly always secure survival, and far more. because in building something larger than themselves, they also build wealth, security, and influence along the way. To build a legacy, you must think like a builder. Start by defining a vision that reaches beyond your lifetime. What problem will you solve? What structure will you leave behind? What values will you imprint on your family, your community, or the world? Clarity of purpose is the foundation of every enduring legacy. Then commit to creating value that outlives you. Build assets that continue to grow without your constant labor: businesses, systems, investments, intellectual property. Build relationships that multiply your impact beyond your own efforts. Teach and mentor others so that your knowledge does not die with you. Every action that extends your influence beyond your presence is a brick in the structure of your legacy. Understand, too, that legacy is not built overnight. It is the result of consistent action taken over years, often decades. It requires patience, discipline, and sacrifice. It demands that you trade instant gratification for lasting significance. But when the foundation is laid, it grows beyond you. Your name becomes more than a memory. It becomes a symbol. The most tragic thing in life is not death. It is to die without ever truly living, to leave this world exactly as you found it. And yet, this is the fate of those who think only of survival. They cling to comfort, avoid risk, and silence the dreams that would have changed everything. They settle for existing when they were born to create. You were not meant to merely survive. You were meant to build, to expand, to leave behind evidence that you were here, not just a name on a tombstone, but ideas, actions, and creations that continue to breathe life into the world long after you are gone. At 65, those who lived only to survive have nothing, because survival consumes everything. But those who live to build a legacy possess more than wealth. They possess immortality in the form of their influence. Their work lives on. Their impact multiplies. Their names become a beacon for future generations. So lift your eyes above survival. Think beyond the next paycheck, the next weekend, the next comfort. Aim for something eternal, because life is short, but legacy is forever. And the only way to escape the fate of ending with nothing is to spend your life building something that will never end. Your life is a priceless opportunity, a brief spark in time with the potential to light generations. Do not waste it drifting from paycheck to paycheck, trapped in fear, chained to mediocrity, and waking up one day with nothing but regret. Instead, dare to think bigger. Master your time, conquer your fears, rise beyond mere survival, and build something that will stand when you are gone. Because in the end, wealth is not measured by what you earn, but by what you create, contribute, and leave behind. Live not just to exist. Live to leave a mark so deep that the world cannot forget you were here.